Evening. I know all of you are from here from different globes. Welcome on board for the day 2 of our global DBMR virtual fintech, the new digital world 2021. We have the first session today, and I would love to introduce you Mr. Stefan Howard and their colleagues. There's Leong and Murillo as well. So Stefan has over 20 years of international C-level experience in working of network agencies and consulting firm. He's also the founder of Ideation firm connecting knowledge in investor relation and advising tech client and tech fund on business and innovation strategies. Now he is also the founder of Skill Road Corporations and a collaborative with the Tank, where Eurosem SMEs can nurture a wealth through corporate and corporations and trade. Previously, Stefan worked as a CEO and a president of IPG Digital and Media Service, building relationship with the international clients in corporation, as well as he's adapted a cross-cultural communication and combining the strategies and innovation technologies to drive business in their region as well. Today, being he is well positioned to capture the growing economic opportunity present by the strong and resilient market. Today he is with his team to discuss the central bank digital currency as well, and they're going to have a lovely interactive sessions for you today. So go ahead, enjoy the presentation. Stefan, I give away the whole screen to you, and it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Today we're talking about central bank digital currencies. And I'm glad to be here with a highly experienced team regarding this topic, but not only about the central bank digital currencies, but also with experts who fully understand blockchain, distributed ledgers, and the fintech sessions. And no surprise, Leong and Mauro, which I will hand over now for introducing themselves. They're both from Switzerland, and as you know, Swiss is here in Europe definitely the finance hub. So I think we're all well set. And now I hand over to Leong that she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Leong. So I work with Stefan in ideations and also Mauro in BIG. So as you can see, I'm a bridge between these two gentlemen here. So with Stefan, I work a lot on the connecting knowledge, especially on like has been introduced with SMEs and also along the Silk Road. This is our market here, and with BIG, we worked on the new technology like blockchain, the distributed ledger. We help companies, run their business faster, cheaper, more efficient, safer. So, so we do lots of different projects, like the current one that we are doing, that is to actually help this Asian e-commerce platforms to actually, to make a real-time payments online. So. I would maybe hand over to Mauro. Maybe he could tell more about what BIG do. So yeah.
Hi. Yes. Welcome. My name is Mauro. My background is in investment banking since the early 90s, and I got in blockchain in 2015 when I was working at Clearstream, which is the post-trade CSD, the central securities provider for Deutsche Börse and all his clients. And so since then, I've been focusing on blockchain and obviously on all the different aspects, cryptocurrencies, but also security tokens, which are being transformed to this technology, and obviously as well central bank digital currency as well, since the base technology is very often the same. And from a blockchain innovation group, I founded that back in 2018 with a network of experts from different areas, obviously business experts in the finance, but also lots of technology experts. And, one important part is the legal experts, since with blockchain, CBDC, and any of the other kind of services applications on the top of blockchain, we immediately run into, regulatory space, and so you need to have that group, these experts on board as well. At BIG, we basically, as Leonci said, we want to make the transition for enterprises and financial intermediaries easy to go and leverage blockchain to become more efficient and cheaper, and to stay up to date with what's going on in the world. And in order to do that, we provide education, market research, and other services, and then we provide advisory and consulting. But this is just one side of the coin, and without implementation, you don't really know if it works. So we are very hands-on involved in implementing these projects, and we're working with different banks in Switzerland, internationally, also people which are coming from outside Switzerland and want to establish services in Switzerland. And as you can see, one of my little pictures on my background is we're also working with the Swiss National Bank with the exchange on CBDC here in Switzerland. That's it from my side.
Awesome, thank you. Then let me take over and we just dive into the topic of central bank digital currencies. And as you have seen, we have here great expertise in the team from 3 different sides. Now, what are central bank digital currencies? So I think it describes an idea. It describes an idea of a kind of digital currency like Bitcoin, maybe. But a digital currency, but issued by a central bank. Yeah, and that means when it's issued by a central bank, the difference is that it has the balance, it has the backing from a traditional institution, from the government. That means for a lot of people, not for all of you. I understand the ones who are in blockchain or heavy in Bitcoin, they will see that probably different. But for most of other people, they want to have the security when they wake up in the morning and they're thinking about 100,000 euros having on their account or $100,000 having on their account. They don't want to see that overnight it's extremely volatile. And that is an area where I believe central banks can really help to buffer. There are also synonyms for this central bank digital currencies out, which is called digital fiat currencies or digital base money. So let's now look at that. And I mentioned before Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So the concept was, I believe, or as I see it, directly inspired by Bitcoin. It is a kind of virtual currency, but issued by a state, while Bitcoin is issued by a private group. And issued by a state, you have the tender, you have a legal tender that is declared and or backed by a government, with all the positive and all the negative impacts that come with it. And here today we will discuss that a little bit. So the implementation will definitely, that is my personal opinion, will definitely not look like implementation that happens on blockchain, right? I'm not sure what you think about that, Mauro, or a distributed ledger. What do you think a CDB could be?
Very different.
Yeah, it's definitely very different.
I think I agree to most of some of these points here. Obviously, as you said, the CBDC kind of understanding, design, original has come out of the Bitcoins and many other cryptocurrencies and the protocols which exist. I think, as you said, also clearly, with a Bitcoin and others, it's a group which creates them, right? Most often they establish foundations. Many of them are actually in Switzerland, so they are obviously they do put themselves under a regime which is it's not regulated like a financial intermediaries, but it is a regime of organizational governance that is obviously monitored by authorities. But nevertheless, the risk, as you said, Stefan, is greater that something could go wrong with cryptocurrency. With CBDC, I think we have that all the attributes which you mentioned. Plus, keep in mind you may potentially lose some cash or it gets stolen or something else, and if somebody has a record of that, could replace that, right? Which in the crypto space is not really possible or happening. Possible, yes, happening, not.
Yeah. And about 80% of the national banks globally, at least from the larger ones, are discussing to create a digital currency. Yeah, and that is not only the US and the UN and the people in Switzerland, or massively the euro. And we want to use the euro today as a kind of example because there's a lot of discussion out at the moment that is trackable, right? But also countries like the Bahamas or Venezuela, yeah, with a petro coin or whatever they wanted to issue. So there are pros and cons, and along the euro we can discuss that. But the first thing is it goes in a way because all the way goes more digital. And here I have Libra, which was the first attempt from a large private, let's say, consortium, bringing that up. It stopped. It was stopped, and it was funny enough, it was stopped by the digital central bank in the US, by the SEC. More or less, their concerns stopped the complete thing. So digital central banks have definitely an input, definitely a large influence in where do we want to go, because they control the traditional payment systems. And I believe that they have a high interest to keep that up and running in the future. And if you look at the US, they're more quiet. China is doing a lot. They're also more quiet. They don't discuss a lot. They just do it. Here in Europe, we have the situation that we have a lot of countries and we have to continue convincing them. So there's a lot of discussion in between, which is public, and that allows us to have a closer look at it. But will it really make credit card companies and Bitcoin obsolete as they think? I don't think so. And the reason is, let's look first at the fintech landscape. We have three large areas there. One are the providers of technology and the providers of, say, liquidity. The others are the consumers of this technology, mainly using it to improve their services, to improve their businesses. And definitely a digital currency will give us all the chance to be maybe more in digital area. Yeah. But then we have, and that is a massive issue, the capital, the access to the capital via digital finance solutions. And access to capital, that is how and where digital central banks or central banks are coming in. I just put out, and that is more the classical view on that, 3 areas. Financing challenges. Yeah, companies need to have, or banks in this case in Europe have to match Basel I, Basel II, Basel III. Then they need access to the capital market. And there we have bonds, we have private equities and a lot of other stuff. So let's just look, you're a startup, you're a company, and you want to access private equity capital. That means there has to be a market for this capital where they can access liquidity, digital currency liquidity, and on a lower cost. And then the focus on technology and trust is definitely also there for the investors. Therefore, we need an EU-wide regulation model, at least for a country like Europe. For a state like the US, it would be just easier because there's just one authority coming out with that. Here in Europe, it's the ECB, but they have a lot of discussions. And therefore, you need definitely in Europe or in general, a financial data model, a technical model, how to solve it, and you require regulation. The regulation is probably, if you like only Bitcoin, you won't like regulation, but regulation is important for international exchange of these currencies. There has to be rules and there has to be some trust that if I have today a digital euro, I can change that tomorrow to a digital yuan and can change that tomorrow to a digital US dollar. And if that trust is given, yeah, the economy can build on that. And in the topic of today's event, there are 3 words written: new digital world. And I believe Euro is waking up regarding the digital euro. They wake up because of the Chinese have already won. Yeah. So China is bringing a digital currency to the market. 2 years ago, Europe was sleeping and thinking Chinese will bring up a digital yuan to pay bus tickets. Yeah. So they don't do that. They want to start the trade between countries. And that is where Europe wakes up and say, hey, oh my God, we're losing the train. Yeah, so we have to jump on a moving train. That is why they connect that with the real digital economy. And it's important to combine the data that comes from this digital economy with capital. Here is Miss Lagarde, Christine Lagarde, the president of the ECB, says, the citizens today in the digital age, let's say in own words, they deserve to have a digital currency, and they deserve to have the safest digital currency that exists, that is central bank money. For that, I have my doubts because of central bank money doesn't have to be always the safest. Yeah, it is the one that the government has fully under control. But these are the next things. A digital euro. The digital euro would be like a euro. Would it be like just banknotes but digital? Yeah. Or does the electronic money of the ECB and the national banks will be accessible to all European citizens and companies? But then the question is, what happened to the others? What happened to the non-European citizens, right? So I definitely believe it will not replace cash. It will complement it, because in the moment you try to replace cash, people will escape in cash positions outside of the euro, at least if they could, right? And then you have within Europe, a solid payment system. A digital currency guarantees, like the coins or like the banknotes, the payment only within this in the existing systems. And in the euro, it's probably possible to reduce the costs. But if you reduce the costs, and now let me just ask Liangxi and Mauro, are there any? They say there's no issue for banks. There's no big impact for banks. But in the moment I reduce the costs for doing it, the central bank has, in theory, or could have, in theory, just if they change their mind, the total control. So what do you think about that? Is that doable with technology?
Mauro, you want to go first?
Yes, I can. So I think the question is really if the central banks, any of them, if they serve the citizens directly, or if they serve them through the banks. As you said, the impact is definitely there. One is central banks would then have lots of clients. No, they would need to have accounts for each of the citizens, which probably, based on what I'm hearing, is not likely. So they will involve the banks to provide that service. So the banks will need to step up their game to connect to this infrastructure and participate in the service. So I think that's number two. Number two is the banks themselves are obviously saying, if we don't can provide the service, we don't get money from the clients in deposit, which means we cannot lend out the money, which means lending becomes more expensive. I think these are kind of like two key points to consider, which definitely have a huge impact on the industry.
I don't really agree. I mean, in some way, if you take a look at things, we are already in some way using the digital currency. I mean, not in that sense that we are making one. Like we do a lot of payments these days digitally too. I mean, when you buy something with a credit card, you are literally paying digitally your currency. It's not paper, it's not cash. I mean, it is cash, it's not paper. So, and I felt that I think the central bank would still behave like a central bank with and collaborate with the commercial banks, because they would still need like a bank account or wallet to put their digital currency anyway, to distribute the money to the society. I think this will not change much in the future. Anyway, for me, I think the evolution to digital currency is not at all surprising, because if you think about the evolution of money, we went from, in the olden age, from bartering, we went to coins, and then we moved then to notes because coins were too heavy, it's not practical. And we moved to notes, and now because the notes are not practical anymore, we move to digital. I mean, there's not much difference than what the evolution was for money anyway. I think as long as they do the digital currency, fulfill all the function of money, as in described in economics, it stores value, it's a unit of account, and it's a medium of exchange. I think basically remains somewhat the same. Digital or fiat.
Yes, I think also there will, I fully agree with your comments. That's why I'm saying the banks will need to get involved to do that, because, I think let's say, at least the central banks I'm talking to and also the BIS are anticipating that, the banks will need to take a role. But the evolution and using digital currencies and on all of that is absolutely going to happen. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, thank you. And then, so why should we go for a digital euro? Why should we go for a digital dollar? Why should we go for a digital yuan, right? So first, it is a fast payment, right? It is easy payment if you have it learned and if the technology is established and common and secure. Yeah, because it is said it's a secure instrument. It's only secure, in my opinion, if the technology behind is secure and if you can trust the regulation. So there are always these two aspects: the providers plus the bank and the central bank, and that means it will be definitely easier for do digital payments. And when the national banks and the ECB here in Europe, or in general, a national central bank says that the currency is safe, people will get a lot of benefits with that and maybe reduce some risks. But if you have the technology under control, but I see there is still one big risk. And that is that if the central bank has the technology and every citizen has an account finally with the central bank, because that is what you would very likely need to make it 100% secure. If that is the case, that will lead to the fact that you don't need the banks, right? We had this banking crisis, and I believe the dream of every central banker should be to get the politicians and all the ducks in a row, that they can go, and that is provocative, and they can go with their politics. Think about that. In Euro, we have negative interest. In the US, we have zero interest. In other countries, you pay interest as long as the capital is there and as long as you have a risk appetite when you think it's balanced. Money can flow out of the euro system. Money can flow out of the dollar system into other currencies. So that makes this vulnerable. And I believe, and here's a quote I want to come up with this guy. This is from Mr. Panetta. I'm not sure. Can you see the slide? Is the slide? Yeah. Okay, so Fabio Panetta, he said that the European Parliament and European decision makers, they will inform and make regulatory about the findings and citizen and whatever. That means there is, at least in his words, the dream of having a lot of things under, I wouldn't say under control, it's a hard word, right? But I think maybe he dreams about to have these things under control. and that nobody can escape if he puts more negative interests to the amount of money. So, and that means for us as a user, the digital payment as an instrument is probably the best thing that comes with it. For the central bank, I'm not sure a lot of our audience have heard the word helicopter money. Yeah, so it is helicopter money. It is money that the central banks gives to every citizen that he can spend it and bring it into the economics to stabilize the economics. This is not possible in our system because what happens to the people who doesn't have an account? What happens to the people who doesn't have an account in euro, right? But maybe keep their account in a foreign currency and pay nearly everything by credit card, which is registered in another country. So this digital payments makes it easier, definitely, but that is what a citizen has for. The only thing is if the flow of capital, yeah, is restricted to the citizen, even it makes it more difficult for them to plan for their own, let's say, pension, for their own retirement plan. Yeah, because of if you're in one system, you're in a kind of debt trap and you can't escape anymore. And that is the advantage that you can probably cover with cryptocurrencies. So you can escape outside of a controlled system. You have a way higher risk, but it's possible. So I think it's, and you probably have you definitely have more problems to pay, because I wish you good luck if you want to pay with a Bitcoin, at least with a normal wallet at Starbucks, your coffee, right? So that takes way too long and the coffee is cold before you have the payment done. But in general, I think that is an important thing. And that is why after the Chinese come up with this plan and issued their currency, the European zone woke up. And not only the European zone, I think also the US is way more active in thinking about the digital dollar, even if they're not so, let's say, progressive. For them, it doesn't make really sense to replace a dollar with a digital dollar because they have the lead currency globally. Yeah, and the risk for the global lead currency dollar is definitely that other national digital bank currencies or digital currencies or other national currencies could take over in this kind of when payment systems gets a bit shaky. So in October, the EU will start investigating for 2 years, if they want to do it or not, right? Can you imagine what China has done in the last 2 years? They have done this plan, they're already there. And if you imagine what, if they stick to their plan, what they could do in the next 2 years, I just feel Europe will be very late. And when you think about the Silk Road or the Belt and Road Initiative, which connects a lot of companies from Europe to Africa, to Asia, and definitely also China and Australia, and also on the Pacific region, on the LATAM region, because that's also a kind of part of it. If such a currency, let's say the digital yuan, would be established there, it won't make a good position for the euro. So I think we're here very, very late. And it's from my side, I think it's very important to get the people convinced for whatever we do that they could be on board. So how could that look like? How do you think a euro could look like, a digital euro? Would it be more a wallet? Would it be more in an app that is centrally registered, or is it possible to do that on a blockchain?
Will you start, Leoncy?
Yes. I think in some way the like I think I just read sometime I think a few days a while ago that I think if I'm not wrong that Ripple is actually piloting a private version of the XRP ledger to work with the central bank on these digital currencies, if I'm not mistaken, Mauro, is it correct?
Yeah, I haven't seen it right now, but clearly they were the first one actually facilitating, cross-border digital currencies. And I think, Stefan, the point here is, if you want to distribute digital currencies to your citizens, you all have to be on a network, right, which is connected. So, you mentioned at the beginning, it's not going to be on blockchain. I think it is network, and blockchain for me is a network too. So it's going to be on a network, and there are different versions of blockchains. There are permissioned, right, where only you get only access, or there are the public ones which everybody has access individually. So I think it has to be a network, otherwise it's not going to work. And think of it, clearly today US dollar is a major currency, right, which everybody uses. The race here could be that who has the best and the earliest digital currency suddenly could become a world currency as well, not just a country currency, right? Because as you said, if you want to use it for the Silk Road business, you don't want to exchange it every 2 minutes from one currency to the other. Yes, Ripple does that, and I think that is also something that we need. But obviously, it is fantastic if we could have one currency to do commerce and others across different countries, right? Because that exchange challenge we still have, which clearly is going to be faster and cheaper because we have companies like Ripple, but we still need it. So I think, it needs a network. Everybody needs to have access directly or indirectly to that network to make use of it.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think it's also more about the interoperability, I think, Mauro, because I think if everybody it's like the electric vehicles too, it's if you have one charging system for all, or you have different charging system for different countries, it's easy. But I also want to talk quickly about the central bank holding all the accounts or the wallets. I truly disagree on that. I think the central bank would definitely work with commercial banks on that, and then instead, I think the commercial banks would then hold the wallets or the accounts, like we do in the traditional way. I think it's more in this direction than everybody holding an account with the central bank. I mean, the function of the central bank is not to actually hold accounts like this for everybody, or I think it's more
prepared, right?
Yeah.
They're not prepared to do it.
No.
Switzerland has, I don't know, maybe 200, 300 or whatever, how many, maybe even 500 banks or more. And that's what the SMB does. They manage 500 accounts. Now, if they have to manage 8 million accounts, they need to ramp up their infrastructure. And
I think it would still remain the same.
Oriented.
I think it will still remain the same, but the central bank will overlook all the financial institutions, and then we would then hold all our accounts or wallets with the FIs. I think it will go this way. Yeah, but in terms of network, I do agree with you. I think it would be easier if we could have a connection of network between the countries and different currencies. But I mean, that being said, if you have one that you can exchange for all, I think it's also not possible, because I think it's a bit difficult in terms of monetary policy, wouldn't it not?
Yeah, let me just jump in. I'm not so sure if that is not possible, because we talk now about Switzerland, and the numbers of accounts who is definitely 8 million. It's quite a lot when you have 200 or 300 banks. But at the end, there has to be a system where all comes together. And let me just throw in, I don't comment with numbers because I don't have the 100% accurate numbers now. And so I don't want to state that, but think about Ant and Ant Finance or Pinan or whatever is existing.
Alipay, WePay.
Exactly. These are the payment systems. The other are the holding companies behind that. If you look how many accounts they held in their payment system, you get dizzy. Yeah, you can really get dizzy. The complete Europe fits into one, I think, of their computer systems. So I think that is fine. And I think for the European Union, it's about being a custodian. I think that is at least the plan. And the digital euro, that will not be a cryptocurrency because it's monitored by a state and by the digital money, right? And if you're using a digital euro that has the same confidence level with cash, on the good side or on the bad side, because I'm not sure how people, I'm not sure what you think about, but if you see a system where you can't escape anymore, or where you have very high burdens to escape, wouldn't you try to escape? So, and I think then, or at least would you try to escape with a small portion? Like if you put your money in and you put that for your retirement plan, a part goes in stock, the other goes in rents, the other goes in gold, and maybe in property, right? So then you have a split. Wouldn't you do the same with the currency? I think from the way how I think, I see there will be definitely a split, or there could be a split, that people will hold in the future, not just one currency, but more.
They do that today, right? Because obviously, think about Revolut or any of these where, you know, you buy and exchange your currencies, and I'm sure many people hold or monitor the FX rates and try to make some money on Revolut, right? By buying and exchanging a currency, which they never will use, but they just want to hold. So I definitely see that as well. Now, the only thing, Stefan, I think using, the digital currency from the central banks, people may feel more in control, wherever it comes from banks or directly from the national bank, but they may feel more control or have more transparency, which means they have maybe more trust. So yeah, I think if they want to take money somewhere else, I guess they will go into cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, money is basically just an IOU, it's basically a piece of paper saying I owe you. The point that the central bank backed currency, it's more trusted and safe, is because in some way it is backed by the central bank, and they promise to pay in the event that you want to draw on that IOU. This is basically the safety in terms of the currency, the central bank currencies, as compared to the crypto, at least. Yeah.
I have attendee Murray Thanos asking you all of, I strongly agree that the digital euro in the Europe would be a late process, especially that China already enhanced several ways of payment in the term of digital money. But what about the Middle East? Any suggestion is yet to come?
Let me just jump in with the first answer to the Middle East, because Mauro mentioned Ripple before, right? And Ripple started very early. I would say it's nearly now 2 years back, starting with the UAE central bank and with the Saudi central bank together on a project how these two central banks, two countries next to each other and economically waived, or at least close to each other, how they can build a common system and how they can use Ripple to exchange between their own central banks. That means they haven't reached that time 2 years ago, the step that they want to come out with that. But this is definitely one of the cases. So what do you think? Anything to add?
I agree. And I can tell you many of the in Switzerland, we have two crypto banks, right? And I'm not sure there's any in any other country that exists, but I can tell you at least one of them is actively, building up entities, services in the Middle East and also, Dubai, other places specifically. And I think, yes, they're probably going to be much more further quickly with the money they're investing there, using digital currency, but also crypto services, which they are actively pushing. as far as I know too. So I think we'll see that a lot quickly. Now, I agree, Stefan, seems that the European government is late, and I think if I look at the timeline, it's taking a long time. But I also know that in the projects we are working on, and public projects as well. For example, Switzerland is working with Bank of France to do security settlement, right, with digital currency, including Swiss franc digital currency, as well as a euro digital currency. So these things are happening, these tests are happening. I think that what we are talking about here, or maybe information that we have gathered there as well, is a lot about for the end user. And one aspect to this is, and I think the European guys are trying to fix that, is have sovereign identities, right? Self-sovereign identities. And this is a big aspect, because the money flow and all of that, and dealing with it, and transparency and all of that, I think we know it works, right? We know from crypto you can move around money very quickly and so forth. I think the part is the identification and how to sign your transaction. So there's a lot of work which needs to happen before to deal with the personal data, which then if that is established, I think the second part, the payment service, or many others following with that, will be much easier.
Right.
I agree on that one.
Yeah, I think so. So what we can say is a digital euro is the right thing for a digital area. A digital currency, a digital national currency could be the right thing for a digital area. But it's like a lot of things are to explore, to learn, and to see how it works within one system, but more important than how it works with other systems and cryptocurrencies itself, because they're outside of the traditional systems, will still have their way, the right of way. And just a thesis, probably they're easier to switch to, because if your money is already digital, it might be, depending on how the solution is, just a transaction. Right? So just a digital transaction. So that means the access to digital cryptocurrencies could be actually easier if not only one country, but a lot of countries have their own digital central bank currencies. So let me switch now to the last slide. What about digital yuan, digital dollar, or digital Swiss francs, right? So what if a non-European area, central bank issues a digital currency before the ecosystem? That is a question Europe can ask themselves, but the US could ask the same thing. What? If a lot of other digital banks or central banks starting a digital currency without we having ready a digital dollar. So because in the moment you switch away from SWIFT, switch away from SWIFT, it gets extremely vulnerable that the US will still be the dollar will still be the lead currency. At least that is how I see it. What are your opinion? Or maybe we have other questions from the audience.
Well, let's quickly go back to your question, right? Tell me quickly if I understand that correctly. So China is leading the way, right, and has established something. And clearly, the question is for them: is this also supposed to be used cross-border or not? And if that would happen, then yes, that would be a very fast track to become a leading currency in the world, as I mentioned before. Just not sure, haven't heard about that, if this is going to happen. So the question is, if we're going to have 3 or 4 big currencies, digital currencies, either one of them is going to lead, or there will be a service provider like Ripple, which are going to make the exchange of these as part of your seamless transfer possible. I can see the two things, but it's definitely going to make some of the countries which are strong today stronger. If they keep up with technology, if they don't, they may fall back.
Yeah. I think we have a question, Stefan.
There's I think let me add one thing for the to envision how digital currencies can work together. I think today we have this exchange of the exchange systems between different countries and different currencies. And for the digital way, it could be actually an easier one if we can establish a simple a similar thing that would make it way easier. But it also comes up with a few challenges, because today we have some political issues, really political issues between countries where they want to, let's say, that hit trade, because a digital currency that would be seamless and can be seamlessly exchanged is probably for the globalization, for the trade, and for the exchange of goods and services and ideas, probably the best thing that can happen, right? But I see it, these central banks are partially driven, are not independent, are partially driven by their parliaments, by political streams or mainstreams or whatever, and that can create an obstacle.
So I can see that there's some questions, right?
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Yeah, hi, Stefan, Mario, Leong. Thank you for that lovely interactive sessions from your end. We have, I think I already spoke out about the question of Murray Thanos. We have Bhumit Thapar here asking about, should overseas efforts to adopt a CBDC encourage great currency in the US? Do you have any suggestions to our questions as well?
I think it does, right? Because as Stefan mentioned at the beginning, actually Libra really triggered, you know, let's say, the hell out of the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where these guys started to say, okay, we need to look at this. And I have seen, very positive signs as well from the, SEC and others, that the Fed and others, also especially SEC, that they see it as a next evolution. So, I have never heard them talking that way. So definitely it has, and it still will. The question is going to be how fast it will go, how long it's going to take for the US to step up. But we also know that sometimes, the US can be very fast, and they will take shortcuts if they have to be still in front of the pack.
Remains to be seen. But I mean, still, the US dollars is still the medium of many is the medium of exchange for many trades at the moment. So that remains to be seen. There's no incentive, I guess, at the moment.
I can also see the next question. Go ahead.
I think for the US, it is very important to play well together with all the others, because as we have learned from the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin can coexist with Ethereum, can coexist with Ripple and all other coins, or come up with something completely new. There is a desire to connect that to a kind of stability. That is why we have in the crypto area the US Tether, right? So there's a desire of stability too. The only thing is, I don't believe, like before, one country can dominate the market alone, because there will be a lot of different regions, and the more you have to find a way of coexistence and to balance it, and to have a kind of exchange that allows the freedom of trade and the freedom of exchange of goods and services, which makes it actually positive for the people and would make it more difficult to come up with new kind of trade wars. So just how I would say you can envision that, if you as a citizen can decide what it is and how it would be. And I think that could lead, if we all do it right, and it's a kind of form where we're experimenting it could lead to a way that makes the communication between the people, the flow of finance between people way better. And I'm not only talking about the people in Dubai sending back money home to their friends and families in the Philippines. Yeah, where then probably when they earn there, sending it back. I'm just envision how it will look like if you work in Dubai and your child is at home with your wife, and then you send the money and she has next day birthday and your wife can buy a birthday cake, right? That is just an experience that can be helpful if we have this exchange between central banks, so that we have a kind of emotional component to this very dry topic too. I think that is probably the last thing from my side, because we're running a bit out of time, as I see.
Exactly. I think embracing the digital currency and making most of it, but you need to keep some coins under the bed as well, just in case,
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes. I think there's the last question from Tom Hanks. We have how CBCDs is different than Apple Pay or other form of digital payments. How do you see like that will be much more beneficial than these digital payments there in place today?
I think there is a misunderstanding there. The digital currency is literally just money.
Yeah.
What Apple Pay and other form of payments is a payment method. So the digital currency is used to make payments. So this is the difference between it. One is a currency, like your fiat money, and the other one is a payment method. This is two different separate things altogether.
Yeah, I think tomorrow Apple Pay will have CBCDs in it. Actually, we can start.
Exactly. One is a payment method, and the other one is a money. That's a complete different thing.
Yeah, for me right now it's only Apple, not only, but it's a service provider, right?
Yeah, it's a service for payment methods.
Now it kind of helps you manage your credit, at least maybe different. I'm not sure about the US, but outside of the US, what I've seen experience is collecting cards, and kind of putting them onto the application, and making the usability easier and so forth. So, and yes, I'm sure they will have future wallets and integrate wallets in their operating system, so you can manage crypto as well as digital currency in there, so in a secure way. So I think obviously it's a positive thing what they do.
Exactly. So yeah.
So thank you so much for if you don't have one more question, I can't see one more question, and I think we're running a bit out of time. So I want to use that to say thank you so much for inviting us today and having the chance to speak at the Global Fintech and the New World Digital World event, and the virtual conference. And I'm sure with this balanced program, everyone can learn a little bit of it. And I know that we have the audience from companies, from professionals, also to students and to startups. So I hope everyone has a little bit a glimpse of what central bank digital currencies could be for them in the future. And thank you so much for having us here today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stefan, Leong, Mario. It was a wonderful session from your side. I think CBDC is something that the new digital world, it relates to our topic as well. Thank you for discussing about this. I think a lot of people have got a newer understanding and newer different knowledge from your end, from your expertise as well. Thank you for coming on board and enlightening and shedding the light on this topic as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
All of you have a great day, and I hope to see you back again. You guys can go back to the platform. All of them are online and you can connect with them. Attendees, if you have any more questions, you can drop down. I can share the details to Stefan, Leong, and Mario as well. And I'm pretty sure they'll give you the answers to that questions as well.